People think that if they inherently make higher quality videos, that views and those things will follow. And that's not true because no one knows how high quality your content is until they've clicked on the video. So first of all, you have to kind of make high value content, which is about the strategy, topic, title, thumbnail, because that's presentation, that's demonstrating high value, that's optics. So what's the standard of acceptable quality? In your niche, it may not be having 4K video, but you might be in a niche that has higher quality aesthetics. If you're in the tech niche, production value matters more. Production value matters less in the news niche.
So you want to grow your YouTube channel, but maybe you feel stuck or frustrated because you're not getting the subscribers, you're not getting the views. Well, in this episode of the Think Media podcast, Roberto Blake, a full-time creator and digital entrepreneur, is going to be revealing his secrets for getting 10,000 subscribers per month. He really has like a 3-step system and then 8 tips that he's going to be breaking down in detail. And this comes out of his new book, Create Something Awesome. And so I'm excited to learn his secrets. Roberto, welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me, Sean.
So before we get into the practical steps for this strategy, you break down 3 things and you say you need a strategy for growing an audience, a system for passive income, and a strategy for networking. Explain the 30,000 foot level here of your journey of growing your channel and to 10,000 subscribers a month.
Okay, so this is something that you don't just learn overnight, Sean. This was a massive trial and error. So what people need to contextualize is I've made over 1,500 videos on my main YouTube channel. And that in my YouTube journey, where I started taking YouTube seriously from 2013 to 2016 was where I started taking it the most seriously. And that meant consistent content, not missing like a week. And I did something really insane and borderline stupid. There's a point where I went to daily content and I kept that up for a very long time. And so what you need to understand is in 3 years, I went from zero, not zero, but like 0 consistent uploads to where in 3 years, I made over 800 videos on YouTube. That's why I ended up with 100,000 subscribers between the August of 2013 and the April of 2016. And that's how I got my Silver Play Button Award. Now, after that, so it's not a fluke, I consecutively for 3 more years beyond that was growing at a rate of over 10,000 subscribers, 100,000 new subscribers a year for like 3 consecutive years. So what I'm referring to works long-term for that. And the thing is, Sean, there's a lot I did wrong. So the thing is, there's a lot I did wrong. And everything that I played in was already saturated on top of that. So for all the excuses that, the usual suspects in terms of excuses, no, my friends, this is still doable and attainable, and there are people doing it all the time, but it's not easy. One of the things you have to identify, even with that content, that your content system, and I'm not saying you have to do it daily, but that's one of the most effective strategies is being able to make the right amount of content for your niche. Keep in mind, here are things I did wrong. For one thing, I wasn't making that daily content exclusively in one lane for one audience. If I had done that, Sean, I'd be at 1 million subscribers by now. Mm-hmm. When you stick to one lane, one audience, all of your effort, all of your energy is compounding. It's just stacking and it's just going in one direction. It's just getting more powerful and more powerful and more powerful. I diluted the potential of my channel. My channel had more potential than it currently has to be much larger than it is if I went in only one exclusive direction with all of that content I made. So the compounding effect would be there. The other thing is, as much as it gets a bad rap, with search-friendly content that's also evergreen and not about chasing trends, it meant that my content gets a longer shelf life. It doesn't get the emotional, upfront, satisfying views, but in that way, it works like a very unsexy investing strategy of just putting your money into S&P 500, not financial advice, but it's like just, it's basically old man Buffett's version of YouTube. It's like, so I play old man Buffett's version of YouTube of just like, what if I just dollar cost average and just uploaded YouTube videos every day, even for the people who think that YouTube is luck and winning the lottery. Okay, bet. So what if you just bought a lottery ticket every day? Your odds are better than someone who does it once a week. Odds are better than someone who does it once a month and thinks this is the big winning lottery ticket this time. Oh, I finally have figured out the right numbers. It's like, no, if you were just playing every day, then your odds, if you believe in, I don't believe in luck, but if you did, your Your odds dramatically increase if you were playing every day or close to it, or 3 days or 5 days, comparatively to someone who only plays once a week. So with evergreen content, it has discoverability long term. And the thing is, just because it's evergreen and search friendly doesn't mean that if you have a very good thumbnail strategy that doesn't work on the YouTube homepage. If you have a really good thumbnail, it works on the YouTube thumb page. If your topic is going to get picked up by other people because the niche has the potential for the niche itself to grow over time, then when it picks up and someone that's not you makes a viral video, YouTube's going to have to look for suggested videos to put next to a viral video. If you've made more videos on that one topic than anyone else and that thing goes viral, guess who's the candidate for the next up page at the end of the video? Guess who's the candidate for the videos next to or below it in suggested? So the thing is, if the category has potential in the future and you're making good quality videos, acceptable quality for the niche, maybe it's not the highest quality, but if it's the standard of the niche, and if the niche could be on the rise, then that means more people will search for it. More people will view it casually on the homepage, and more people will view it casually and binge watch suggested videos on the same idea or topic. So you can position yourself by going deep and having that repository so that when everyone decides that that thing you're passionate about is gold now, you own the mine, you own the gold mine, you own the silver mine, you own the depth. And then everybody who's chasing it is only boosting your content in the homepage and suggested because you have the deep inventory and you've been around the whole time. And the proof of this, Sean, is during the pandemic, all those people who made those boring tutorials on Zoom and Google Classroom and Microsoft Meet or group meetings and stuff like that, all these live streaming platforms that people had to use for business meetings, conferences, school, it became, it's my time. These people, it's their time. So the timing, you can be so early to the market. And if it's evergreen content, it can produce massive riches in the future if your time should come. So you may not be able to always predict or anticipate those things, but does it have that potential? Does it have the adoption rate? And in my case, Sean, one of the smart things is tutorial content, because I reverse engineered this in the fact that I'm an Adobe user. All I had to do was and I didn't think about this at the time, but if you look it up, it's like how many millions, Adobe is one of the biggest tech companies and on the S&P 500 index. How many customers does Adobe have? Oh, so you mean if I make content for Adobe products as software tutorials on skills I already have, do you mean that there's already millions of English-speaking users for this software? And you can do that in a variety of ways. If you realize the people who are smart in entertainment, they do this when, Lord of the Rings is coming out with a new series on Amazon, and I'm already a Lord of the, all these lore channels that have existed as Tolkien fans for the last almost 2 decades on YouTube. Like for 17 years, there have been Tolkien fans that have been on YouTube for 17 years. It's their time now, because now there's a new series that's bringing a new audience and a new group and fan base for that. Game of Thrones, those people are eating again. So, because there's lore and there's history, so the content is evergreen. Evergreen content isn't just for education channels. And a lot of people don't understand that. Search content isn't just for education channels. It can be for fan bases and communities as well. And so leveraging search doesn't mean you're not still taking advantage of the homepage. That's just a good topic title and thumbnail, as always, my friend. And as for suggested videos, that's just about a niche that's on the rise of content that people would binge watch. So make a candidate for that. So that's the evergreen, funnel strategy as the main part and component of that we talked about, with search being a factor in that.
Love it. So that's a lot of heat in that initial opening statement, and evergreen, search-based. Now we're going to go tactically, and you kind of touched on this, but there's practical steps you broke down for this strategy. The first one was identify a specific evergreen niche. To your point, if you tapped into something like Game of Thrones, House of Dragons, Dragon just came out. You have Adobe. Not only is Adobe in the past, but it continues to update its software and launch new software. Whole channels could be devoted just to Premiere. Premiere keeps doing updates. On a separate note, Billy Ribka actually worked with Think for a while, 100,000 subscribers just on DaVinci Resolve.
Yep.
And DaVinci uploads, they push a new update, and he has 55 new videos to make or more. and you could keep going deeper. So identify a specific evergreen niche. These are 8 steps. Number 2 is perform keyword research, targeting high search volume phrases. So this is the step-by-step thing you did to build up. And you also took massive action. You put a lot of outputs out there, more at bats. You don't believe in luck, but it's like the harder I work, the luckier I get, because you put out more search-based videos. But breakdown number 2. So perform keyword research, targeting high search volume phrases.
Yes.
What can we learn there?
So I was a Google AdWords certified professional when I worked in corporate America. I also was a website designer and developer, and I was an on-site and off-site SEO guy. And I used to live in Google Analytics before I ever lived in YouTube Analytics, Sean, for years. So before YouTube ever existed, I spent years in Google Analytics. So I've been in Google's backend and systems for over 20 years now, Sean. And the funny thing about that and what that does for you is you start to, after you spend that much time with them, you start to almost think like a Google engineer or developer, and you start to kind of just like start to see the patterns of how they build things, how they like their dashboards. You start to look at top to bottom, left to right, and realize, wait a minute, that's a priority. If they put it top to bottom, left to right, it's the first menu I see. Oh, that matters. Start to reverse engineer. All that being said, with the search side of things, I learned a lot about search, and I learned a lot about search-based advertising, which is what pays every YouTuber. And so I use that to my advantage. Now, someone without all of that background could really just think of this from the same perspective as somebody who searches for their favorite product on Amazon, their favorite videos on YouTube, their favorite shows on Netflix. And a lot of people, they think SEO is dead. They misinterpret a lot of what YouTube has said publicly. And then if you look at YouTube and Google's own help documents on their own website, it actually, the information suggests that it is still there. The other most important thing is if Google's and YouTube's search and discovery mechanisms when it comes to keywords and tags didn't matter, then they wouldn't give you the option. They would eliminate the field. They've taken away 20 features from YouTube since I've been on the platform. If this one didn't matter, they would have gotten rid of it too. So what I tell people is assume everything matters, but maybe everything doesn't matter as much as something else. I think the mistake is that people think of, if I do these right tags, I will get more views. That's not their purpose. The purpose, I believe, that this serves is like everything in retail, and YouTube is retail, your videos are products. It's to categorize and contextualize what you do to someone who might enjoy it. So if you can put things in your title, descriptions, and tags and transcripts that all correlate, it means that your thing is more relevant and provably more relevant for the thing that you're talking about, because we can confirm in all 4 of these places that you are talking about the thing you're talking about. So then we know it's not clickbait. That's how the system determines whether something's clickbait. The other thing is it's performance-based. So they look at if you are what you say you are, then you won't have as many people drop off in the first 30 seconds. So that's another validation that they use. They use timing in that regard as well. Time on site is what we used to call it in Google land. We now call that in YouTube land retention rates. So you can see how my Google expert knowledge translates over to YouTube. Now, for paid advertising, no less. Now, the thing about that is people also don't understand that the keywords that you use also help on the paid ad system that's somewhat archaic on Google side in terms of what ads pair with what videos. Now, that's not the only factor. Obviously, your title pays probably the biggest factor in all these things. But in terms of a verification method, there are keywords and there are keyword exclusions that advertisers use. So since I know that this still matters. The other thing I know in terms of this is like, okay, Roberto, that's all great. What do I put in my, okay, in your niche, what do people search for? If I'm making Game of Thrones content, House of the Dragons, one of the things I know people are looking for is they're looking for individual characters in the series. So I know that I'm going to make character essays about our favorite characters, but also what great houses belong to. House Stark, House Lannister, House Hightower, so on and so forth. There's going to be people looking for that. There's going to be people looking for Game of Thrones fan fiction. There's going to be people looking for Game of Thrones theories. There's going to be people looking for non-spoiler reviews. So I already know that these are things I can put in my title, and I can reinforce the variations of how people search for those things in my keywords tags. And then also I could put variations of these things in my descriptions. If there's a title that may have been more specific, but it's too long, maybe that's how I phrase the first couple of lines of my description to compensate for that. Maybe I reinforce those variations or those things in my tags in YouTube so that someone looking for it, YouTube can identify when it's thinking, did you mean this? It has a point of reference for that. Did you mean this? When it talks about certain subjects throughout my video, the other thing I can do is add chapters. And the thing is, if there are certain things in my chapters that someone would be looking for, if those things are also in my keyword tags, it surfaces it much better in YouTube and in Google. Because as you know, Sean, the reason SEO and search isn't dead and keywords and tags aren't dead is because Google takes snippets of your YouTube video and makes that a resulting Google search now, on top of the video being a Google search and on top of the playlist being a Google search as well now. So now you have all these ways to appear in a Google search, let alone a YouTube search. And the thing is, with SEO and these keywords and tags, they matter because of this ability to contextualize what somebody might want to watch. And when you describe a product and you put it in Amazon, what are there? There are keywords and there are tags. When you look up a film in Netflix and you want to say, I want to watch Kerry Washington films. I want to watch anything that was made and put out in the 1990s. I want to watch anything that was directed by Quentin Tarantino. How would the system know that and know to deliver that to you based on your preferences? The only way it knows that is someone went in and labeled this thing correctly and said, this film has these actors in it, and those actors are now keywords. This film is this genre. This film has this director. This film was made at this time. This film has these specific aspects of it. This film is in 4K. This film is in standard definition. So on and so forth. So your YouTube videos should have keywords that classify what the video is about, what's included in it, what features it has, if it has any of those, collaborators if you have them, and so on and so forth, because it is a more accurate way for the system to serve the viewer. It's not about you getting views. It's about the viewer getting what they want accurately.
Are you ready to start or grow your YouTube channel? Do you feel stuck and need help connecting the dots? Join this free web class where you'll learn the step-by-step playbook for YouTube success. We've helped thousands of purpose-driven entrepreneurs just like you grow their influence with video. Register today for this exclusive training at thinkmasterclass.com.
So number one is you've identified an evergreen niche. So you're listening to this, you pick out your niche, and the goal is not only the goal, a huge key for this strategy is that it's evergreen. It reminds me of growing up in Seattle. What does evergreen mean? We had evergreen trees. So summer, spring, winter, or fall, the pine needles did not come off of these trees that are green year round. No matter how hot it gets, no matter how cold it gets, the trees stay green. This is powerful about YouTube when you have evergreen content. More or less, regardless of what happens in the economy, these certain types of videos continue to get views, which means there's consistency in your income. And so you've identified the evergreen niche. Number two, you perform keyword research with also the goal of identifying the topics that are getting higher search volume. Some of that is intuition. You may have intuition of what people would be looking for on House of the Dragons or in regards to Adobe, and you can reinforce that with tools. You then say number three, prioritize phrases with high search volume but low competition. And number four is build an evergreen content strategy. I'm moving through this because, of course, people could check out your book. But let's hit number five now. Produce content of acceptable quality within the niche. What do you mean by that?
Yes. So you have to identify what is acceptable quality in your niche. So the thing is, people think that if they inherently make higher quality videos, that views and those things will follow. And that's not true, because no one knows how high quality your content is until they've clicked on the video. So first of all, you have to kind of make high value content, which is about the strategy, topic, title, thumbnail, because that's presentation. That's demonstrating high value. That's optics. That's branding. That's marketing. That's aesthetics. That's thumbnails. That's titles. That's attention. So high value is all about getting attention. High quality is about delivering a good experience. So what's the standard of acceptable quality? In your niche, it may not be having 4K video. That may not be what people who have 100,000 subscribers have to do. They might be doing standard definition. but you might be in a niche that has higher quality aesthetics. If you're in the tech niche, you have to make higher production value matters more in the tech niche. Production value matters less in the news niche. It matters less in the politics niche. It matters less in the niche of commentary sometimes. But in the niche of beauty channels, aesthetics matter. So higher production values. In the niche of tech and product reviews, much higher quality required to be competitive there. All right. If you're doing streaming, maybe it's not as high of a quality, but if you did go to higher quality, maybe that's something that helps you stand out and convert more of the casual viewers to subscribers. So the thing is, you have to identify in my niche, was the person that is doing well and is growing. Maybe they're not 100,000 subscribers yet, but was somebody growing in my niche? Was their content look and sound like? Okay. What's acceptable quality? Generally speaking, the baseline, if you just want to say, hey, even from day one, I want to look like the creators that I tend to watch. And you tend to watch creators that have 50, 100,000 and have put in some effort and money into their presentation. So what you're probably looking at is an investment in a decent microphone. We use good microphones. That investment in a competitive microphone is probably anywhere from $80 to $500 to have something that's comparable with people who have 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, even up to 1 million subscribers. People with 1 million subscribers, most of them are not using a microphone that's more than $400, $500. That sounds like a lot of money. I made that mowing lawns when I was a teenager, Sean. It's doable. But there are people who have 100,000 subscribers. They're using $80 to $200, $300 microphones. So take it with a grain of salt and realize that it's like, you can get very competitive at a budget. Lighting, you can light a perfectly reasonable YouTube video for a channel with 1 million subscribers with one light if you need to. When we were at Vid Summit and I was with Omar Takori, we borrowed a light from our friends over at Aperture, and it was like a $300 light. It was the Armon 100 or 200, and we borrowed a $100 $150 softbox. We took that up and we used one light to light both of us, and that was all she wrote, and we were good to go. And it was a great video, and the quality was great. I think that video has like 50,000, 80,000 views or something like that. So you can be competitive on the level of the biggest people in your niche without spending thousands of dollars per item. You can do that. Now you have to understand, don't try to be the exception that proves the rule and says, I'm going to get to 1 million subscribers with nothing but my iPhone. Like, that's not as statistically likely. That's not as reasonable to do. It could happen, but it's not reasonable. Look at what people who are successful already and people who are growing, what their standard is, and say, if you click on my video after watching theirs in suggested, everyone wants suggested video views. If they click on my video after suggested, does the quality just fall off of a cliff or no? So can I sit there and can somebody watch any creator in my niche and the quality doesn't fall off of a cliff? That's what you're looking for.
Powerful. And as these practical steps are stacking, this is one of my favorites, number 6, produce quantity more reliably than competitors.
Yes.
You mentioned this earlier. You had this 3-year run where you pumped out 800 videos. It sounds to me, Roberto, that you outworked the competition. And there was probably very few people that, if any, that really produced that level of quantity that reliably. Break this down.
So what happened was, because of what I was doing, and then even beyond that first 100,000 subscribers, and why I was able to replicate that year over year, and I increased the quality year over year too, and I was able to start getting 100,000 subscribers with less videos required to do it. Now my baseline is, if I want 100,000 subscribers a year, I have to put out like 100 videos a year. 100, somewhere between 100 and 150 is the new. I don't have to put out 300 plus anymore. So now it's about 150. But the thing and the reason that works out, Sean, it depends on your niche, and it depends on your strategy, your effectiveness, your personality, performance, production, blah, 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 blah. But if you can get to a baseline of, okay, I have good production values, I perform well on camera, and there are people who like my personality, and I know how many subscribers I get when I put out this video, this video, this video. If you can scale that, then you can start to control the amount of subscribers and views and money that you're getting, because now you can say, if I'm making this much with one video a week or 2 videos a week, if I go to 5, if I go to 7, if I go to 10, I have a way to justifiably expect some linear continuation of those results. That's just how everything typically is. Now, there are points of diminishing returns, but the thing with YouTube is this: every video is a new opportunity and some perform better than others. So the thing is, there's actually very little proof of diminishing returns when the quality has been proven to be acceptable to the community. So the thing is, once you get quality to a point to where it's acceptable to the community, and you'll know that because views are becoming subscribers and they're becoming them at a reasonable rate or an above average rate for your niche, and you see it with your own eyes, then you know, as long as I don't drop this quality and I do more of it, more results will follow, and I can stack my results now. So and it's no different than other work. Oh, wow, I'm making this much money. I'm getting these results because I'm working 20 hours a week. Well, clearly my salary will increase if I do 40 hours a week and the productivity doesn't work and no one's unsatisfied with what I did and I'm still getting the same customers, compliments, and the same standard is maintained. As long as I maintain my standard, increasing the output can only increase results. So that's where this comes in. And if your competitors are obsessed with increasing quality when no one asks them to, if they're chasing their tail, they're the ones who are going to get frustrated sometimes with upping the ante because, again, they're mistaking quality and value. If your ideas are good enough and people are already like, yes, I'm paying attention to that, I'm excited about that, that's where I would put more energy is into better ideas, not trying to just, oh, I need 3 camera angles now. I need 6 guys running around with me. It's like, you don't always need that. Some people do that and it works. But the thing that reliably has been proven to work, Sean, is if people say yes to something, if you give them what they're already saying yes to, more often they'll do that. The other thing is everyone's worried that that's going to burn out their subscribers. Sean, everybody should just go to their analytics and figure out that more than 50% of their audience is not subscribed to them. So continue to reach new people is how you grow. This is new acquisition. It is literally a numbers game. I don't like the idea of quality over quantity, Sean. I think it's a misnomer. I think the main thing is we need to strive to level up in all areas. We need to produce high value content that gets attention, that the people we want to reach will care about. Then we need to make sure they're having the best experience possible in terms of the quality within our abilities, without killing ourselves. It's like we gotta do that. And then with also out exhausting ourselves and overworking, we also have to say, now I'm going to give you that thing that you give attention to, that experience that you love, and I'm going to give you more of that than anybody else is giving you. And if you can level up in all of those areas, you have a higher chance of being successful than someone who doesn't level up in all those areas. It's all about raising standards and then maintaining them and scaling in the right places.
So I'm going to give you the last final 2. These are in Roberto's book. Highly recommended. We'll link it in the show notes. Create something awesome. But these 8 practical steps. Number 7 is then rank multiple videos around an individual search query. And number 8, create more of the content that produces the most growth. For more on this, the entire chapter that breaks this down, it kind of narrates the whole story. But Roberto, you've added intense value and some nuances in this episode. And so I want to thank you for all of the value you're adding to the creator economy and to the Think Media podcast community as well. Appreciate you.